Oh, this is it. Tonight's the night. I'm either getting robbed or starring in a really weird episode of Cops. Yeah, that was me about 2 in the morning, cabin windows flashing red and blue like a nightclub for forest animals. And buddy, I'd been out cold dreaming of my granddad's voice and simpler times when the scariest thing on Pine Ridge was maybe a skunk under the porch. But on this night, my heart's pounding so loud I think the neighbors can hear it, assuming any of them are actually sleeping. Radio static splits the mountain silence, then the sharp metallic slam of car doors, and right on cue, the queen herself, Karen. She's out there, voice slicing through the dark like she owns not just the road but the moon itself. I stumble to the window, bare feet freezing against the floor, clutching my old robe, honestly looking like an unshaven yeti. Outside, 2 patrol cars block my driveway lights, bouncing off every pine needle. The officers are talking to her and she's waving this clipboard, acting like she's running a crime scene instead of an HOA. You know the type. She's got the manicured hands, the color-coded folders, the "I'm doing this for your own good" face. Karen Morrison, president of the HOA for 15 years, and she makes sure you know it. I inherited my granddad's cabin 6 months back, but she's already spun my arrival into some kind of felony trespass. 3 days after I first pulled up, she'd practically made a PowerPoint for the cops' property records, HOA bylaws, photos, timelines. Honestly, you have to respect the prep work, except for the part where it's all being used to paint me as a squatter. I watch as she rattles off legal citations, one hand on her hip, the other jabbing her clipboard for emphasis. She's quoting California Civil Code like it's scripture. The officers nod, flipping through her files, and I can see the wheels turning. This isn't about noise complaints or some missing garden gnome. No, this is Karen trying to turn my family's cabin into the next big housing scandal. Neighbors start stepping out, porch lights flicking on up and down the lane. Folks in robes and slippers standing in the cold wanting to see the show. This isn't just about me anymore. It's the best thing to happen to Pine Ridge since the deer trashed Old Man Stinson's vegetable patch. Morgan, the senior officer, you can always spot him, walks up my steps slow, like he's handled 1,000 messy neighbor fights. Behind him, Karen's standing there, shoulders squared, ready to play prosecutor. She doesn't even have to say anything. The whole block already knows she's the hero in her own story. And then for the big moment, she points. That's him. The man who's been illegally occupying this property. Her voice echoes off the pines, making sure the audience hears every word. She's been building this case, waiting for this scene, convinced I'm the villain who just wandered into her jurisdiction. Morgan is all polite but firm, asking for my ID and documents. 15 years in housing code enforcement taught me, keep calm, keep records. I hand over my portfolio inheritance papers, my ID, everything notarized except for one little detail. I haven't filed the deed with the county yet. Karen's done her homework and found that gap. She leans forward, practically salivating, knowing this is her big gotcha. I mean, you gotta wonder who's got a color-coded binder ready for the cops at 2 in the morning. But what she doesn't know is, this isn't my first rodeo. I hand over what I've got. No drama, no panic. Morgan and his partner go through it, careful, methodical, but they spot the hole. Has probate been completed? And just like that, Karen's eyes light up. She's thinking she's got me right where she wants me. Mrs. Peterson from across the street pipes up, defending Karen, saying she's stopped 2 break-ins in the last year. Neighbors nod. She's their watchdog, their self-appointed sheriff. Morgan turns to me again, respectful but pressed. Do you have anything showing you're legally allowed to be here? I'm honest. Probate's still ongoing. No point lying. It just digs the hole deeper. Karen goes for the kill, mixing sympathy with legal jargon. I appreciate Mr. Carter's family situation, but unrecorded inheritance doesn't grant occupancy rights. She references codes and procedures like she's reading from a courtroom script. The officers take it seriously. Her documentation is tighter than most. But here's where it gets interesting. My county credential tucked into my portfolio. One card that could blow the whole act sky high. For now, I leave it hidden. I want to see how far she'll go. Watching a pro overplay her hand is better than Netflix. Besides, if things go sideways, I can always pull out the badge. The next morning, Karen's back, this time with reinforcements, the HOA treasurer and secretary decked out like some regulatory SWAT team. They lay out compliance violations, fines, racking up by the day paperwork that looks official but smells like intimidation. They've rehearsed this routine. Patricia's snapping photos, James is measuring setbacks, Karen's quoting made-up rules. Immediate payment of $1,500 will resolve these violations quietly, Karen announces, waving a payment form. The neighbors, pretending not to watch, suddenly find reasons to linger nearby. The message is clear: pay up or suffer. I play along, asking for their legal authority. Karen doesn't miss a beat, rattling off statutes that sound impressive but don't actually back her up. My gut tells me this is more about power than the law, and a quick call to my friend Maria at the county confirms it. That's intimidation, not regulation. They can't do that. So I start documenting everything, building my own case photos, emails, notes. Karen, meanwhile, calls a board meeting to brag about another compliance success. She's convinced she's got me trapped, not realizing she's just built a paper trail of her own abuse. And just as the deadline for payment hits, Karen does what she always does. When someone won't bow down, she calls the police again. Persistent trespassing at the deceased owner's property, she tells 911, painting me as a threat to the whole community. This time, 3 officers show up, led by Sergeant Thompson. I open the door, calm as ever, hands visible portfolio ready. Karen hands over her evidence, timelines, photos, notices. The officers look at me. Can you show documentation? I hand it over, same as before. Wilson checks the names. Everything lines up, but you can see Thompson's reading the room. Something's not adding up. Then Morgan spots my credential. Suddenly, everything changes. The officers confer quietly, their posture shifting from investigator to, well, let's just say a lot more respectful. Karen keeps pushing, still convinced her logic and paperwork will win the day. Finally, it's time to end the show. I state it plainly. Senior Code Enforcement Supervisor, County Housing Department. 3 pairs of eyes snap up. You could hear a squirrel blink in that silence. Karen's face just collapses. Her folder slips papers, scattering across the driveway. For 4 days, she's been running circles around me, but now the floor drops out from under her. Sergeant Thompson apologizes for the trouble. I shake my head. Keep it professional. Even offer Karen a little grace. She was just following her misguided sense of duty. But I explain firmly, HOA rules don't trump county housing codes. Harassment, intimidation, fake violation notices, all of it's now on record thanks to her own documentation. Karen tries one last time to hang on to her authority, but it's gone. The officers leave, neighbors whisper, and Pine Ridge gets real quiet. The fallout's just beginning. I collect her scattered paperwork, hand it back without a smirk. That's how you show the difference between power and decency. Back at the county office, I turn over my files to the real investigators, conflict of interest and all that. The case blows up. Karen's systematic intimidation wasn't just against me. Over the years, families paid thousands in bogus fines, sold homes to escape her threats, lived under constant surveillance. Peterson, the investigator, not the neighbor, maps it all out clear as day. Karen's little kingdom of fear is over. The board meets, the room packed wall to wall. Residents line up to tell their stories. Garden gnome fines, threats, 0 appeals ever making it through. Karen tries to defend herself, but even her old supporters turn away. In a landslide vote, she's out. Tom Henderson steps in as president, and everything changes. Real oversight, fair appeals, compliance with the law, not just HOA power trips. County monitors, the board sets up new procedures, and for the first time in years, people feel safe in their own homes. 6 months later, Pine Ridge looks different. The cabin feels lighter, the air somehow easier to breathe. Property values go up, complaints drop to 0, the appeals process works. I see Karen one morning out by the mailboxes, no clipboard, no armor, just gardening gloves and a tired look. She asks to talk. She's had time to think. She admits she convinced herself her bullying was for the community, that she crossed the line from protection to oppression. She's not asking for forgiveness, just wants to do better. I tell her folks believe changed behavior more than speeches. Forgiveness. That takes time. As I drive away, I spot her tending flowers where she once took surveillance photos. That's a real transformation, not just for her, but for Pine Ridge too. You know, my grandfather always said the best victory is the one where the bully learns to be decent. That's what happened here. Power, when it's forced to serve justice, changes everything, sometimes even the person who misused it. And let's be honest, watching Karen get hoisted on her own clipboard was deeply, deeply satisfying. But here's the thing. What would you do if your neighbor became your judge, jury, and executioner? Where's the line between protection and harassment? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear your stories. Good, bad, ugly. And if you've ever stared down an HOA tyrant, well, let's just say you're not alone. Thanks for sticking around for this one. Sometimes justice is quiet, steady, and a little bit poetic. See you next time.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.